In this tutorial, we will create a new deck of cards and stack them one on top of each other. Create a new 2D project. In the inspector, make sure the camera projection is on orthographic mode. First, we will create a game object to use as the main prefab for the cards. Create a new 2D sprite game object. Rename the game object to card. Prepare a PNG file of a design for the backside of the cards. You can find and download one on Google. I will include a link to download the one I'm using in this tutorial. Create a sprites folder and drag the back card PNG file. Click the card game object. In the inspector, change the sprite asset to the card back sprite. If the sprite is too big, in the inspector, change the size to match your requirements. I downscaled it to 0.2. Find the size that works for you. Create a prefabs folder and drag the card game object to the prefabs folder. Delete the card game object from the hierarchy. We will use it later. Create an empty game object and name it Cards Deck Holder. Reset the transform. We will use this game object as a parent to hold all the cards in the deck. Create a new empty game object and name it Create New Deck. Reset the transform. In the inspector, add a new C# script and name it Create New Deck of Cards. Create a new scripts folder and drag the class to the scripts folder. Click on the C# file to edit the script. First, we will declare a private static array of strings and call it card suits. Give 4 elements to represent the suits of the cards. Underscore clubs, comma, underscore diamonds, comma, underscore hearts, comma, underscore spades. It is important to write the names with the underscores as we will use it later when giving names to the cards and loading the sprite to match the card name. Declare another private static array of strings and name it cards values. Give it 13 elements to represent the valuers of the cards. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. Another reminder to make sure all the names are accurate, including the underscores in the suits. Declare a new private list and name it Cards Deck. To see the list in the inspector, add a serialized field above the variable. Declare a new private game object variable and name it Card Prefab. To see the game object in the inspector, add a serialized field above the variable. Declare another game object and name it Cards Deck Holder. We will use this game object as a parent to hold all the cards in the deck. Delete the update function as we won't need it. Declare a new public function and name it Generate Deck. This function will return the new deck of cards as a list of strings. Later, we will use this list to create each card game object in the game. Declare a new list of string and give it the name New Deck. Create a for each loop. For each, open parentheses, string, card suit, in, card suits, close parentheses, open curly brackets. Create another for each loop. For each, open parentheses, string, card value, in, cards values, close parentheses, open curly brackets, new deck, dot add, open parentheses, card value, plus, card suit, close parentheses, semicolon, close curly brackets, close curly brackets. And now we will return the new generated list of cards. Return new deck, semicolon. In this function, we are connecting the toStrings array by connecting each value to suit and return a list of names. In the start function, let's assign the return value from the generateDeck function to the cards deck list that we declared before. Card deck equals generateDeck, open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. Here you can see the list that we are using to assign the new deck returned from the generateDeck function. Let's go back to the Unity editor to test the new generated list. Click on the Create New Deck game object. In the inspector, you can now see the cards deck list, a space to assign the card prefab, and a space to assign the parent for the deck. We will assign them later. First, we need to test the list of new generated deck of cards. Test the project. In the inspector under Cards Deck, if you open the list, you will now see all the generated new cards in the deck with their names. Go back to the script. Now we will create a new function to use the new generated deck of cards list, instantiate a new game object, and attach the matching sprite for each card. Create a new public function. Name the function createCardDeck. We will pass the generated deck list to the function. Public void createCardDeck, open parentheses, list, string, new generated deck, close parentheses, open curly brackets. Now for each string or card name in the list, we will instantiate a game object. For each, open parentheses, string, card, in new generated deck, close parentheses, open curly brackets. Game object, new card, equals. Instantiate, open parentheses, card prefab, comma, new vector 3, open parentheses. For the X, Y, and Z or Z position, we will give 0, close parentheses, comma, quaternion.identity, comma, cards deck holder.transform, close parentheses, semicolon. Now we will give each card his unique name from the list. New card equals card. Now we will assign each card the matching sprite by name. The sprites will be placed in a folder named new_cards inside a folder named resources. It is important to have a resources folder as the Unity editor will look for a folder with that name. We will create that when we will be back to the editor. Let's write the script to get the sprite renderer component and change the sprite. New card dot get component sprite renderer dot sprite equals resources dot load sprite open parentheses. Now we pointing where in the resources folder we can find the sprites. The folder will be called new_cards quotation mark new_cards // quotation mark plus new card dot name close parentheses semicolon close curly brackets close curly brackets. We will load the sprite name that matching the card name in the new_cards folder inside the resources folder. In the start function, call the createCardDeck function and pass the cards deck list. Go back to the editor. Click on the Create New Deck class. In the inspector, assign the card prefab and the card deck holder. Go to the sprite folder and create a folder named Resources with a capital R. Create a new folder inside Resources and name it new_cards with a capital N and C. Inside the new cards folder, we will store all the sprites for the cards. For the load function to work, the name must be in the following order: value, followed by an underscore, followed by a suit, I will include a download link for the cards in the comments below, but you can also create them by yourself. Test the project. If you click and open the cards deck holder parent, you will now see all the cards in the deck. The cards covering each other, but they're all there. Let's move them in the Y and Z or Z position to create a view to show each card. Go back to the script editor. In the Create Card Deck function, let's add two new variables. Float offset Y equals 0 and float offset Z or Z equals 0. In the vector 3, let's replace the Y position with offset Y and the Z or Z position to offset Z or Z. Now all we need to do is, on every for each loop, we will add or subtract from the values of offset Y and offset Z or Z. If we add to Y, the cards will be moving up, and if we subtract from Y, the cards will be moving down. In the Z or Z position, if we add, the card will be moving away from the camera, and if we subtract, the card will be moving towards the camera. Go back to Unity and test the project. Now we can see the cards positioned on top of each other. Each card has a distance between each other from of 0.30 in the Y position and 0.3 in the Z or Z position. But one thing is missing. To create a card game, we will also need to shuffle the deck before dealing the cards. Let's create that. Go back to the script editor. Under the Generate Deck function, let's create a new function. Private void shuffle cards. Open parentheses. This function will take a list of strings containing the cards' names. List. String. New generated deck. Close parentheses. Open curly brackets. First, we will create a for loop to run the same count as the items in the list. For open parentheses. Int I equals 0. Semicolon. I smaller than new generated deck dot count. Semicolon. I plus plus. Close parentheses. Open curly brackets. Now let's pick a random element index from the list of card names. Int j equals random.range. Open parentheses. I, comma, new generated deck dot count minus I. Close parentheses. Semicolon. Now that we have a random index each time, let's swap elements in the list. First, we will create a temporary string. String TMP equals new generated deck. Open square brackets. I, close square brackets. Semicolon. Now let's assign new generated deck I a new value. New generated deck. Open square brackets. I, close square brackets. Equals new generated deck. Open square brackets. J, close square brackets. Semicolon. We assigning J random string to be equals to I. And the last thing we need to do is assign the temporary string to new generated deck J. New generated deck. Open square brackets. J, close square brackets. Equals TMP. Semicolon. Close curly brackets. Close curly brackets. This function will take the card deck list and rearrange it before we are using it to create the sprite card deck on the screen. Now let's call the shuffle cards function after generating the new deck. Shuffle cards. Open parentheses. We will give the card deck list as parameter. Close parentheses. Semicolon. Go back to the Unity editor and test the project. As you can see now, the cards are in a random order and will be in a new order every time we run the project. Thank you for watching.